You know what? Trump's Twitter account should be suspended.
His Twitter account should be suspended. I think there is plenty of now evidence to suggest that he is irresponsible with his words in a way that could result in harm to other people. And so the privilege of using those words in that way should probably be taken from him.
Further proof that Kamala would make a bad president. Her instinct when faced with something, ban it. And really, she's not going to help herself by detweeting Trump. If anything, that might help him. He just quickly launched his own message board, and the media would cover that even more breathlessly. Because without Trump's asides, they'd have to start covering real news, which actually takes real work. And besides, we'd all resent Ms. Harris for taking away one of the most striking phenomenons in political history, a leader who communicates directly to the people, cutting out the middleman known as us, the media. Obnoxious or not, it's the most transparent advancement in politics, the opposite of the choreographed interview between politicians and hacks that allowed both phonies to prosper. No wonder she hates it. She's terrible at being authentic. She's as real as spandex, as credible as a gas station chili dog. I've never seen a candidate so uncomfortable in her own pantsuit. Well, maybe. The only person who laughs more at their own jokes is the Joker.
It's really difficult to drink out of a paper straw when if you don't gulp it down immediately, it starts to bend.
Yes.
And then, the little thing catches it. And then, so we got to kind of perfect that one a little bit more.
Okay. Okay, I don't intend to mess you a minute here.
Which tweet? What tweet?
About saying that it is a modern-day lynching, that...
Sorry.
Yes, Jussie Smollett.
Okay, so...
There's a weird reflex among libs these days not to engage in dialogue, but simply suppress it. Instead of debating each other, dump the interesting voices. Instead of listening to the other side, call them despicable or deplorable. Instead of accepting an election, resist it and call it illegitimate. What do all these tactics have in common? They only work if you know you're a loser. You know, Dana, you remember, I had high hopes for Kamala. Remember?
Yeah, way back when she was the first to announce.
Yes.
So she had the Rubio model.
Yes,
right?
I thought that she had it, but she's...
And she had that big and she had the big crowd. And even President Trump, remember at the time, I think he tweeted that she had a big crowd and that he was impressed with her.
Yeah.
I think that right now she's doing everything that she can to punch through in this news cycle, because when you start talking about impeachment, there's basically no room for anything else. So she has to figure out a way to do that. The other thing that she tried to do today was to make some news, basically saying she's got some staff changes on her campaign, which is an acknowledgement that things are not going that well. She has not announced her campaign finance numbers for this last quarter. I bet that they're not that good.
No, she has. I think she's raised over $10 or $11 million. But look, she's a phenomenal woman, a wonderful lawyer. If you ever need a lawyer, Greg,
I will soon. Trust me.
But what she was saying was that words matter. And I do believe the words of the President of the United States matter.
But to ban it? Suspend it?
I think we need to time out sometime. Especially over the weekend when I'm watching football and the President's tweeting 80 times and it's all like talking loud and saying nothing.
I enjoyed it.
She was... Greg, I know better. She was making the point that his words matter, especially when the President sometimes retweet people who are saying things that may not,
Yeah. Well,
can I correct myself? She had announced it. I just didn't see it. It was $11.6 million.
Dana, it's too late to correct. It's on the record, and we will be having a meeting. We will have a meeting
Harris
after the show to discuss disciplinary procedures.
$11.6 million.
But here's the thing. To Donna's point, Jedediah, it's hard for leftists, not Donna, to lecture us on words when they've said a lot of horrible things about conservatives going back to Reagan, going back however long. And so now we got a guy that kind of fights back, and now suddenly,
And even on Twitter, I mean, you had so many politicians on the left that wanted to destroy the Covington kids in second one, that set out to destroy Brett Kavanaugh. They decided he was guilty, tried to ruin his whole career. So even if you don't like Trump's Twitter feed, and I get it, sometimes I look at it and I'm like, oh man, just Melania, take that away. I mean, I go through that range of emotions.
I'm like that with your Twitter.
But yeah, I know that. Too many cute animals for you, huh, Greg?
It's all around. It's not just on the left attacking the right. It's the right attacking the left.
I agree.
I get smashed.
But nobody cares
I get smacked across the head all the time.
But
on
nobody
Twitter.
cared until Trump.
The
for some
problem is
reason.
you would have to ban so many people that you would have to ban the whole platform.
Yes.
Because
Well,
there's people on the
that's not
right,
bad.
there's people on the
But when
left.
do you cross the line when you retweet stuff that involves civil war? I mean, Adam Kinzinger, did I pronounce it right? 'Cause
You
I
did.
wanna make sure. You know, Greg is going to take me back to grammar school, and I'm going to take him to a school that he's never been to, okay?
Ooh, now I'm interested.
Oh, yeah, well, I got something for you, Suge. I've always had something in the bag
boy.
for you. It's just that I'm sitting so close to Jesse, I can't share it sometimes.
Jesse's got to have some.
Here's the
thought.
thing.
Go ahead,
Greg,
Jesse.
in ancient Rome, a lot of the rulers would ban the books of
Yes.
people whose ideas threaten their power. And then the Catholic Church would issue book bans on some of the Copernicus novels
Interesting.
and things like that because it threatened
Copernicus novels.
Yes, because that threatened their ideology.
Yes.
And then, as you remember, in 1440, when the printing press was invented, there were
Why, who was
massive...
it? Steve Gutenberg.
Yes, book burnings throughout other Gutenberg throughout Europe. But what this says is, Greg, throughout history, when the elites feel that their power is threatened by new ideas and new information, their instinct is to destroy.
Shut it down.
It is not to persuade, it is not to debate, it is to destroy. And then that is what Kamala Harris is doing and what all people on the left have been doing recently. Look at Rudy Giuliani. They tried to keep him off air. Look what they did with Trump's Twitter account. Look what they did with Ben Shapiro, who's about 5'3", least threatening guy in the world. He can't speak on a college campus right now because he's too threatening. This just shows how weak the left is, and they can't persuade with ideas, and now they're trying to take away your vote. And that's the most critical thing.
Good point, though. It's true. It's like if they can't beat you on the turf, they just remove the turf.
Right, and you know, there's an old saying that politics is a contact sport, and people need to get tougher.
What year was
Why
that?
are we all protecting all of our supporters from these harsh, mean words from this monster
Was
in the
that from
closet?
13?
Because he's the
1987?
president of the United States and words matter.
Yes,
That's why.
words do matter.
You know what, though, Donna?
Impeachment's a big one.
I bet you LBJ was 10 times worse, but there wasn't Twitter, right?
No, he used a tape recorder.
Yeah.
I would go back to a tape recorder for Trump, too.
Yes. All right.